Have we started? Yes. Good evening and welcome to this meeting of Rotherhall Council. Councillors and officers who are joining us remotely are reminded to put their mobile phone or electronic device on silent if they have one near them, and those present in the room should face forward, speak directly into their microphones, and not place papers or electronic devices between themselves and the microphones. Please would remote participants mute microphones when not speaking, as this will reduce feedback and background noise and save bandwidth to prevent loss of connection. Members of the Council joining us remotely should leave their cameras on. Members present in the room will speak first. Those members joining us remotely will then be invited to speak, and they should indicate their wish to do so by using the Raise Your Hand facility. Only those members present in the room will be voting on any recommendations, and I will confirm the result verbally for the benefit of those watching the webcast. Please be aware there can be a time delay of around 5 seconds while a remote participant appears on screen. Thank you. Agenda item number 1 is to seek approval from Council to approve and sign the minutes of the Council meetings held on the 21st of September and the 25th of October 2022 as correct records. I would move from the Chair an amendment to the draft minutes of the 21st of September, and Councillors should, I believe, have seen a copy of the proposed amendment. Is that right? It's not been circulated. I shall therefore read it out. And this is that the minutes should be amended by the inclusion of the following sentence. 2248, motion to Council, RR 2022-840P, motion to rescind, and the text reads, at the conclusion of this item, there followed a 5-minute adjournment to allow the members of the public present to leave the Council chamber. It was noted that after the adjournment, the following members only were present for the remainder of the business. Councillors Harmer, Bayliss, Brewerton, Clark, Coleman, Cook, Cortell, Dixon, Drayson, Errington, Field, Gray, Giwan, Langlands, Madeley, Mere, Norton, Oliver, Osborne, Brochak, MBE, Thomas, Timpey, and Vine Hall. Subject to that addition, do I have your approval to sign the minutes of those Council meetings of the 21st and 25th of October as correct records? Seconded by, I have a seconder, thank you. All those in favour as amended? That I think that is carried, I think, unanimously. Thank you. Item number 2 is apologies for absence. Are there any additional apologies for absence?
Chair, the apologies are Chairman of Council, Councillor Harmer, Councillors Carroll, Curtis, Dixon, Mrs L. Williams, Errington, Mrs Kirby Green, Langlands and Stevens.
And Councillor Giwan is attending remotely. And Councillor Brown. And Councillor Brown is also attending remotely. Agenda item number 3, disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures by members of personal and disclosable pecuniary interests in matters on the agenda? If so, please declare the nature of any such interest and whether members regard the personal interest as prejudicial under the terms of the Code of Conduct. Are there any disclosures of interest? Councillor Brewerton's indicating.
I'm actually the Vice Chair of Bexhill Community Land Trust.
Is that in relation to any particular agenda item?
Effectively on the... You are discussing it, I think it was agenda item. CB 2243, Community-Led Housing Cemetery Lodge.
Yes, agenda item 7. Thank you very much. And Councillor Maynard.
Executive member of East Sussex County Council. I believe it's which one was it? It was CB 22. No, it was CB. I think it was 2243. I will check and redeclare at the appropriate time.
And Councillor Field.
Personal interest on the same item as a member of East Sussex County Council.
Any others? No. And councillors are reminded to redeclare when the agenda item is reached. Thank you. We now come to agenda item number 4, the announcements as part of the Chair's communications. I have to report the resignation of Councillor Roger Bird of Southern Rother Ward with effect from the 13th of December 2022. A happier item is to congratulate Councillor Carl Maynard on the recent birth of his son. Congratulations. You've been congratulated many times and you deserve it. And your wife too. She did. Councillor Harmer has provided me with a list of her engagements since the last meeting. No fewer than 19 separate events. I'm not going to read them all out. I think perhaps two of the most important were that Councillor Harmer attended a Remembrance Day service on behalf of the Council, and I, as Vice Chair, attended at Bexhill as she was at Little Common. So those were two very important engagements. And as Chair, Councillor Harman went to the opening party of the newly refurbished Couden Beach Hotel on the 26th of October, and the new owner, Grace Leo, has spent much time and money refurbishing the building, and she hopes it will become a destination hotel in no time at all, it says here, and let's hope that is so. And on Saturday, the 19th of November, both I and Councillor Harman spoke at the Oceans Symposium event organised by the United Nations, Climate and Oceans and Sussex Wildlife Trust. And I spoke briefly about the plans Rother has to support a positive and sustainable environment locally and our carbon neutral plans and proposals. Those are the communications. The full list will appear, if councillors agree, as an appendix to the minutes in due course. Agenda item number 5, to answer questions from members of the public in accordance with paragraph 10 of the council procedure rules. And we do indeed have a question. We have a question from Beverly Cooper to Councillor Juan, and Beverly Cooper is attending remotely, and I can see you. Can you hear me? You can, and you will have your microphone on when you speak. And,
hello, I can hear you, Councillor Mayor. Thank you.
If you'd like to read your question out.
Okay. Good evening, councillors. Can you please tell me the forecast level of financial reserves held by the authority for the period ending 2022/23 as at the budget setting point in 2019/20, and the current expected reserves level based on the Q2 2022 forecast reserves for the period ending 2022/23, and approximately how much money was not able to be recovered from the additional costs related to the COVID-19 pandemic, which had to be funded through these reserves? Thank you.
Councillor, would you like to answer?
Thank you. Thank you, Beverly,
Sorry, we have an echo. Beverly Cooper, could you turn your microphone off, please? We're getting an echo.
Hopefully that's better. So the forecast level of reserves for 22-23, as at the budget setting point in 2019-2020, was 7.592 million. When the 2022-2023 budget was set, our forecast reserves for March 23 was 7.528 million. The Q2 forecast level of reserves at the end of March 2023 is 8.016 million, although this excludes the impact of the staff pay award, which was approved after the Q2 report was first published. Additional COVID-related costs that were funded from reserves were reported to members at an estimated 485,000. However, it should be noted that it's impossible to calculate an exact figure because whilst we calculated income estimates before the pandemic, there was no way of knowing what our income would have been had the pandemic not have happened. Thank you.
Thank you. Beverly Cooper, do you have a supplementary question arising out of that answer, and only out of that answer?
I don't. Thank you, Councillor. Just like to wish you all a very restful Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I would invite you to turn off your microphone and camera and to leave the meeting. And if you wish to watch the rest of the meeting, please watch on the public webcast. Thank you. Yes. Agenda item number 6. To answer questions from members of the Council in accordance with paragraph 11 of the Council Procedure Rules, and there is a time limit of 30 minutes on this. And I see that we have a question from Councillor Ganley to Councillor Oliver. Councillor Ganley.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes. Could you confirm the total spend on the Town Hall Renaissance project to date?
Thank you, Councillor Ganley. The grand total of spend to date is £730,117.
Is there any supplementary arising out of that?
Yes, there are. My supplementary question is, are officers on Cabinet instructions working up another planning application for the Town Hall Renaissance project?
All I would say is that all capital projects have effectively been stalled because of the current situation with overall finances going forward. So at this moment in time, the matter is with officers in order to identify where we go from here. The answer is no.
Thank you. Question number 2, an oral question from Councillor Mrs. Barnes to Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Chairman. I was somewhat puzzled since Blackfriars not only has attained its planning permission as well as a design prize to learn that there are design changes intended. I do hope there'll be no compromise on its high standards of design and its green credentials. Can we be told what's going on, please?
In respect of that particular question, any changes from the original scheme will have to be managed through the Council's Planning Committee, and it will therefore be carried out in open and transparent manner.
Any supplementary?
No, not really, Chairman, except that, of course, it was presented as a bit of a done deal, so I'm quite surprised that, it's actually got to still go through various stages.
I think that's going beyond the scope of supplementary. And we have an oral question from Councillor John Barnes to Councillor Jiwan.
Thank you, Chairman. Given that the savings achieved by the Financial Stability Programme have again fallen short of the target, would the lead member please indicate what level of savings will be needed in 2023-2024 and in 2024-25 if the Council is to maintain our reserves at the minimum level required, 1/3 of net spend? Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Jiwan.
Thank you, Councillor Barnes. Further to our previous Cabinet meeting, the Council reserve is looking to be set at £5 million. In terms of the actual figure that is going to be needed to marry up the Financial Stability Programme 2023 and 2024, I will need to consult with our Chief Finance Officer and come back to you with the required figures. Thank you.
Is there a supplementary arising out of the answer?
No supplementary, sir. I look forward to getting the figure.
Thank you.
Of course. And the fourth question, again, it's Councillor John Barnes to Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Chairman. I've recently been made aware that the cost of the Spine Road at Blackfriars has more than doubled to 8.6 million and that it is running well behind schedule. What has caused the increase and what steps are being taken to prevent further loss and delay?
Thank you, Councillor Barnes. I asked the same question. I asked the same question of the Chief Exec and the senior management team, and there is a statement going out this week, which should be with members during the course of the next couple of days, regarding Blackfriars. And I've asked the Chief Executive to bring forward a report in the new year, so this information can be clarified and identified so that we know which way we're going forward. Thank you.
Supplementary?
Yes, there's an obvious supplementary. Why has this not been reported to Cabinet and or audit before this date? It only reached the public domain via an FOI request.
As a result of that, I have requested an interim statement and a full report to come forward.
Agenda item number 7 is to receive the report of the Cabinet on matters for determination by full Council at its meetings, that's 2 meetings, held on the 3rd, 31st of October and the 12th of December. Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to remove the report of the Cabinet meetings held on the 3rd and 31st of October and the 12th of December 2022 be approved and adopted.
Have a seconder from... I will then call over the reports. If members wish to reserve an item for discussion, please indicate as I call over. 3rd of October 2022, CB 2233, Technical Advice Notes, First Homes and 100% Affordable Housing. 31st of October 2022, CB 2241, East Sussex Temporary Accommodation Policy, CB 2242, Rother District Council Owned Leased Accommodation, Complaints Handling Policy, CB 2243, Section 106 funds to support community-led housing, Cemetery Lodge, Bexhill. 12th of...
I'm the Vice Chair of the Bexhill Community Land Trust.
Thank you. And 12th of December 2022, CB 2251, King Offer Housing Development. And none having been option A, thank you. none of the minutes being called over or reserved for discussion, and they've already been moved and seconded, can I now put the motion to the vote? All those in favour? Any against? That is carried. Agenda item 8, to receive the report of the Audit and Standards Committee on matters for determination by full council at its meetings held on the 26th of September and the 5th of December 2022. Councillor Drayson.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move the report of the Audit and Standards Committees from their meetings on the 26th of September and the 5th of December and ask that the recommendations be approved.
Is that seconded? Councillor Courtell, thank you. And I shall call over the reports and, as before, indicate if necessary. 26th of September 2022, AS 2222, Risk Management Update. 5th of December 2022, AS 2236, Code of Conduct. AS 2237, Review of the Arrangements for Dealing with Member Complaints, Investigations Procedure and Hearings Procedure. AS 2240, Proposed Amendments to the Constitution.
2240, please.
Councillor Field indicates. AS 2241, Revised Anti-Fraud and Corruption Framework. Some of the minutes having been called and reserved for debate, I move that the whole of the report, with the exception of the reserved matters, be approved and adopted. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by, thank you, Councillor Prochak. All those in favour? Any against? That is carried. And I shall now proceed to deal with the reserved minutes. So I call on Councillor Field.
Thank you. I'm referring to the decision made, or the recommendation made by the Audit and Standards Committee concerning rescinding motions brought to Council and its decisions. I'm hoping you'll be taking these recommendations separately, because I would like to not support recommendation 2, but revert to the original recommendation so that the 6-month gap between the decision being taken and anything else happening to it can be maintained.
We shall take those matters separately, as you propose, Councillor Field. So the first part is the remove. Councillor Drayson wishes to speak.
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's just on the recommendation 3 there is some confusion that the words agreement and in consultation with appear. I've checked the original agenda and we'd sought to delete in consultation with, and we were going to change it to by agreement between, but I think that needs to be probably agreed separately by tonight's meeting as well, because both words agreement and in consultation with appear in the recommendation.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Drayson. We'll deal, perhaps if I take them in order, and we will come to that. The first recommendation is the removal from the Constitution of Part 3, responsibility for functions, and this is recommended for acceptance. Do we need to debate this particular item? Does any councillor wish to speak on that? I put that recommendation 1 then to the vote. Those in favour? Anyone against? That is carried. Thank you. The second item is the proposed amendment to Council Procedure Rule 16, and the recommendation is that the change be not approved. So we're in danger of running into a double negative here if we're not careful. This is a motion to rescind a previous decision, and the wording is a motion or amendment to rescind or reverse, or which has the effect of rescinding or reversing a decision of the Council made within the preceding 6 months, cannot be moved, and the words which were proposed to be inserted are, unless there has been a material change in circumstances. Now, the recommendation is that those extra words, unless there has been a material change in circumstances, should not be put in. And then it continues as before, and the notice of motion is signed by at least 1/3 of all members, etc. So, Councillor Field, you wish to speak?
Nothing further to add than my original comments, thank you. I think, as you outlined so clearly and eloquently, that's what I would like to do. Thank you.
Councillor John Barnes.
Yes, Chairman, I agree with the recommendation one, because clearly Council are not trained in planning matters, and therefore it seemed to me that the provision in committee for planning, and I think the members of licensing and general purposes may have had the same feeling, they were present at this meeting, was perfectly acceptable. The problem is that you then remove any chance of asking the full Council to look again at a decision, not to take that decision, because I would remind you that the motion to rescind doesn't reverse the decision, it simply sends it back to the committee. The Ordnance Standards Committee clearly accepted that the safeguard of having at least 1/3 of the council members was a very powerful safeguard. The problem with actually a change of material circumstance is that's a matter of interpretation and judgment, and it would not be carried out by a member of this council, but by an officer. And that seems to me unacceptable in principle, and that is why I moved the amendment I did, and in the end, Ordnance Standards agreed the recommendation without that amendment. And I still hold that the principle that this should be a member decision, not an officer decision, should stand. And as a Democrat, I hope other people will support me.
Does any councillor wish to speak? Is it no one wishes to speak? In which case, it should go to the vote. Well, just a reminder that if you wish the amendment to take effect, as printed there in red in the agenda, if you wish it to take effect, then you must vote against the motion, which is confusing. So all those in favour of the motion, please indicate. That is 8, and all those against. And 15, so that is defeated. So that motion has been lost. We now need somebody, if they wish, to move that it be approved. And Councillor Field proposes that it be approved.
I do, yes, thank you.
And is that seconded?
Yes,
Thank you, Councillor. All those in favour of approval? That is 15, And those against? And that is 8. So that is carried. Thank you. Abstentions. I have not voted, so I will count myself as an abstention. And Councillor Graysons and Brereton. Thank you. Recommendation 3 concerns the amendment to public speaking rights at Planning Committee. Councillor Drayson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just to clarify, I think the words "in consultation with" need to be deleted as they were on the original agenda paper, because I think what we agreed was it would be on its merits by agreement between the development manager and the chairman of the Planning Committee.
So each case will be decided on its merits by agreement between the development manager and the chair of the Planning Committee. So that's the words correct. In consultation with and would come out. Is there a seconder for that? We have Councillor John Barnes and others. Do we wish to debate this? Are there any speakers? No. Those in favour of the amendment in favour of the proposal as amended? That is carried. That is carried. Thank you. Yes. So we go over to number. Yes. Agenda item number 9, to receive the report of the Chief Executive on an appointment of a company director to serve on the board of directors of the Council's housing company. Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to move the report of the Chief Executive be received and hopefully confirm a proposed nomination.
Do we have a name for the nomination?
Yes, indeed. Councillor Paul Cortell.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Yes, we have a second. We have a seconder. Thank you. And those in favour? Sorry, I should ask first. Are there any other nominees? There are no other nominees. So those in favour of Councillor Cortell? That is carried. Thank you. Number 9. Agenda item number 10. In accordance with Council Procedure Rule 13, consideration be given to the motion to Council which has been submitted by Councillor Osborne as detailed in your agenda. And this concerns Operation Radcot, and Camber, the management of Camber Sands. Councillor?
Thank you, Chairman. I won't keep members too long. You can see all the work here. There's a fair bit of work that's been put into by officers. I know I shouldn't sort of pick out officers for sort of praise, if you like, but I will do on this occasion. This has been put together by Deborah Keneally and Lindsay Goodwill. And you can see the amount of work that goes on in Canberra throughout the year. Not so much in winter, obviously, because there's no one there. But what I wanted to get across was the work that we as a council have done over probably 15 to 20 years now with Operation Radcot, and it slowly sort of expands itself. That is now seen as an exemplar of local authority work, and the model has been taken up by other councils around the country with seaside locations, working with other sort of partners and everybody else.
So I won't read through, you'll be glad I won't read through all these papers, and you can see for yourself what the various partners do down there, from the police to the ambulance to the fire brigade, our own beach staff, waste collectors and everything else. But I've made a few notes from the last RADCOP meeting we had this year, sort of the end of season meeting, if you like, where the sort of everybody gets together and sort of does a sort of a end of year debrief, and then they sort of have a rest for a few weeks and then start again. Probably around about October, they meet sort of every 6 weeks or so, and then starting in January, February, we sort of ramp it up, and in April it's about every 2 weeks, I think, and then when it gets into June, it's 3 times a week. Everybody gets together 2 or 3 times a week. It's a massive amount of work. So this year we've got Canberra. Canberra, as you will know, or I hope you know, small seaside village, roughly 1,000 residents. 38% of the properties in Canberra are holiday homes or Airbnbs. We have Pontins, which can take 3,500 people. And Parkdean Holiday Camp can take another 1,500. Day trippers who turn up unannounced due to the sun shining at any one time can number 25,000. So you imagine that's a Premier League football crowd turning up on a small road in the middle of nowhere almost, on the beach, and we wonder why it gets sort of jammed up. And the thing is, with a Premier League football crowd, you know when they're coming, because they've all bought a ticket. They kick off at 3 o'clock, and by 5:30, they're all back at home having their tea. With a beach, we don't know. We can take a good guess, say it's sunny, it's a bank holiday, it's going to be hell, and quite often it can be. This year we had 7 what we call red days, which are the sort of bad news, if you know what I mean. But there are many busy days, so 7 red days. But given that we had a 13% decrease in our car park income, we've still got the costs, we've still got the rubbish to pick up, we've still got the beach inspector, all the staff, car park staff and everybody else to pay, but we had a decrease in income. Here's one that really sort of gets you. Over the season, 246 children went missing. 246 children. Now, East Sussex Fire and Rescue, you think, what's it got to do with them? They do a wristband scheme. So we give out people these wristbands, write a mobile number on them. When little Johnny gets lost, we can find him. So in July, there was 98 went missing. In August, 119. The worst day was 37. So if you take that over, say, an 8-9 hour day, it's 1 every 15 minutes. So you imagine the stress on our staff, the police, the beach inspectors, everybody else trying to deal with that, and having a parent probably doing their nut that their kid's gone missing. Lifeguards, rescues this year, 30-odd rescues, mostly people from London, some from the Midlands and one from New York, of all places. Come all the way to Canberra and had to be rescued from the sea. Police, 228 incidents, 85% of which take place beachside, 7 of them on May Day bank holiday. Ambulance, the ambulance do an excellent job. Between April and September, they actually base themselves in Canberra on red days, or in the Rye ambulance station up in Rye Foreign. Yeah, you'll have to give me some Christmas cheer. So they had 1,966 man-hours of cover in Canberra, busiest area in Sussex for 999 calls, and in one day we have 43 incidents, 9 of which were getting water. Biffa, our guys work down there from 6 in the morning till 9 at night. There's over 1,000 bins we have in Canberra, and they collect 8 to 10 tonne of waste on any weekend. They've had less bin fires because they burnt them all a couple of years ago, so we've now got tin ones. Increase in trade waste is an issue. And again, this is something else that we ought to pick up as a council. Increased holiday lets. You register them as a business, so you don't pay a council tax. Then register them as a single business, you don't pay a business rate. So then they put their rubbish in our bins. East Sussex parking, they've usually, now we've got the decriminalised parking, they put 4 staff down on red days, and they go by moped or electric bike so they can get there. 580 tickets have been issued this year. We've got an urban clearway, which is now permanent, and the biggest problem is disabled badge holders who park because they say they can have a park for nothing, but they block up the roads and cause trouble. But there, so I want to do is pay tribute to this.
Are you coming to the end?
Yep. I want to pay tribute to our staff who work tirelessly throughout the year, and our partner organisations, and especially Deborah and Lindsay who plan it all and put it all together, and more importantly, the residents of Canberra, who year on year put up with it. Known to Lizzie and I, we try and do what we can, and then at the moment it's all nice and quiet, so they're not bothered. So thank you. I hope Lizzie will second my motion, and that'll do. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time, Chairman.
And you move the motion?
Yep.
Yes. And seconded? Councillor Proshak. Are you indicating you wish to speak, Councillor Oliver? Oh, you wish to speak? Well, Councillor Proshak first.
As a seconder, thank you, Councillor Osborne, for bringing this. One of the things I've learned, because it's on my portfolio about community services, it's the devil in the detail. And so, as you've said, as soon as one season is finished, Deborah Keneally and her team have started already to work on the next season. These red days are the ones we live in fear of, because if you can imagine ambulances trying to get through, and actually you haven't mentioned the toilet cleaners and people like that have to go in really regularly and get violence because they have to lock the toilets while they clean them. We have to hire security guards at a cost to this council, and one would think we would make money out of the car parking, but we don't. We actually make a loss. I've forgotten the actual figure. I think it's something in the region of 30,000. I don't know. I could check that. But we don't make a loss. And you've mentioned things like lost children, but the things that happen, like people bury their little barbecues in the sand. Imagine walking across something like that. They put them in the bins. They're not allowed. It's against the rules to have barbecues on the beach, but they take them. Then how many bins set fire? These great big plastic bins were on fire because they throw them in there. The actual behaviour is really quite appalling. And in fact, for example, the staff for the toilets, it's very difficult to get them now because then it's not exactly a job anybody would want to do. So thank you for bringing the report. Absolutely delighted to second it, and really, really delighted to minute our gratitude to the way Deborah Keneally works with this team and with our partners. Thank you.
Councillor Hacking. Councillor Hacking?
Yeah, just to echo that Paul was absolutely right to bring this up, and Canberra, although we do love it, can sometimes bring us some challenges. And just to say thank you to all the staff and all the partners who are involved in this and all the many complicated problems that it brings every year.
Thank you. Councillor Drayson.
Thank you, Chair. Just quickly through you to Councillor Osborne and Councillor Hacking, how are the residents this year? Have they noticed? Is it working for them, Operation Radcott?
Quickly come back. We didn't get bombarded at parish council meetings, so I think it's not too bad. And at the moment, it's all dead quiet.
Councillor Mary Barnes.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. That is a most impressive list of activity to keep people safe. Can I also put in a plea, please, to make swimming available, particularly to those who, I see we have advice for visitors. Please don't go into the sea unless you can swim. Now, that isn't just children, that's everybody. And I think we should do everything in our power to keep all our swimming facilities open, running and available.
Councillor Cortell.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I'd like to commend the motion, and commend both what Councillor Osborne and Councillor Proshak have said. I would like to move an amendment which is actually an additional detail to this motion. We were told by Councillor Osborne that holiday lets don't pay council tax. I'd like to suggest that we that we write to both the Local Government Association and to the appropriate Secretary of State.
Councillor Cortell, I think this is too far away from what is proposed. You're really proposing something quite different from what's on the table.
Okay.
I'm sorry. For another time, please raise it, but not tonight. And Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Chairman. And I won't.
I'm terribly sorry. I was going to call Councillor Bayliss.
Oh, please.
Thank you, Chair. As a member also representing a coastal ward, I would like to say that I would like to echo everything that Councillor Osborne has said and Councillor Prochak. We've been invited along to all the Operation Radcott meetings. We've been at the one at the beginning of the season and the one at the end, the wash-up meeting, which may be a sort of unintended pun. But it's, you know, it has been really, really interesting. And I think some of the learning from Canberra is now being applied to Bexhill and certainly to the Herbrand Walk area where we have similar sorts of issues on a much, obviously, smaller scale, but the same sorts of issues. So, yes, thank you to the staff, and I absolutely support the motion. Thank you.
Now, Councillor Oliver, really is you this time, Councillor.
Sure about that. Yeah, good. Okay, I'm not going to sort of add much more to what's already been said. All I would say to members is that when the Radcott meeting, you can attend as an observer, and I've done that on 2 or 3 occasions. I am really impressed with the way that all the agencies work very, very closely. I'm really impressed with Deborah and Lindsay in bringing those meetings together in a very, very professional way. And I do know the coastal officers that have the responsibility there, and they are very professional. They work very, very hard. And I think we're very, very blessed, as it were, to have this quality of staff to manage this mammoth bit of business on the 7 or 8 red days, but other days are still very busy. So thank you very much, Paul, for bringing this together.
Yes, and I would like to echo all that's been said tonight. I too have attended as an observer at Operation Radcott meetings, and of course the visitors from Canberra spill over into my own ward at Pett level in particular. So I'm well aware of the enormity of the task which is undertaken by officers and all the agencies concerned. Councillor John Barnes.
Yes, I'd just like to make a special mention of the RNLI because they, of course, are dependent entirely on voluntary contributions. And they put the lifeguards in place, not just at Canberra, where there is real danger, but all around our coast. And I think I echo everything that people are saying about all the other services, many of them statutory, and with some precept funding, like fire and rescue, which I had the honour to chair. But actually, the RNLI raised money from all of us. And I think that is above and beyond the call of duty.
Thank you. And before I put that to the vote, I couldn't but mention the Pett level inshore rescue boat, which is entirely supported by voluntary donations too. Members of the Council, I now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? That, I think, is unanimous. Thank you all very much. Yes. I'm being reminded to say Merry Christmas, and I didn't need reminding. I had remembered. And I would also like to thank members, of course, but especially officers for the work which they put in over the year. We simply wouldn't have a council without them, and I hope they have a very well-deserved break over the festive period. And we'll see you all next year. Thank you. It is closed at 7:20.